Hey everybody, welcome to another IC Live. We got Thursday, January 18th, day 4 of 75. And so if you're just tuning in, we're pushing on consistency, kicking inconsistency in the teeth, whichever way you want to put it. And we're going to make a bunch of content. We're going to share a bunch of good stuff to help your business, family, faith, every aspect of the entrepreneur's life. My name is Billy Robbins. I'm the founder of Intent Company, and we're a marketing agency. We have a marketing software. We help businesses grow, and that's great. But a growing business should never be at the sacrifice of a struggling entrepreneur or burned out employees. And that's something that's really passionate to me, and that's kind of the main gist of what we've been talking a lot about, is creating healthy businesses that thrive economically, but entrepreneurs that thrive in their relationships and in impact and the difference we're making in the world, and all of that comes together. Because you can be, if you want to watch more of this, check out day 1. But you could be uber successful financially and waste it. Burn out your marriage, have no relationship with your kids. There's people that get rich being a crook. There's the money side of the business isn't the only thing. And it's funny because when we get more of the what I call inner man stuff, right, or inner woman stuff, right, that we're growing, we're full of peace and joy, and the overflow that happens actually has one of the biggest impacts on our business success anyway. So so we're talking a lot about that kind of stuff. So today, though, I wanted to talk specifically about kind of our unique giftings. I call it talents, ambitions, and skills. And we're going to talk a lot about kind of our unique makeup. How do we operate out of our superpowers? How do I identify our superpowers? But then also, as entrepreneurs, how do we do that in others? How do we help see this? How do we help extract or help our employees, our teams, sometimes even our customers? I actually do this a lot with, in a consulting world. Sometimes you're doing that for your clientele, like you're helping them understand their unique superpowers and how they operate, because I actually think that is a major component of not burning out, and so we're going to talk about that today. It's going to be a good session. Thanks everybody who's joining. We got Mr. Oaks on again. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. For anybody who's watching or anyways tuning in, you can help us out a lot by doing all this stuff. Here, Braden will let you know.
Hey guys, welcome back, and make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell for notifications.
Excellent job as always, Braden. Thank you very much. So yeah, do the things, the bells and the subscribes and the shares and the likes, and wherever you're seeing this, you can help us out a lot by just getting the word out and sharing. So we are on day 4 of 75 lives. As I mentioned on day 1, it's kind of like an experiment too. Like, what could we do? I confessed, even though one of the major things that we do for all of our clients is make content, publish on social. I was looking at one of our clients last year, just doing a little recap, and we helped their YouTube channel grow 20,000 subscribers. I think it was like, what was it? They were getting like 80,000 hours of new videos watched every single month, like for like 12 months. And then it hits you. It's like, why don't you do this for yourself? It's kind of like the whole chefs don't want to cook for their family kind of thing. So anyway, I already repented, already confessed, and now we're doing it. We're making content. We're doing stuff. So these 75 days, we'll just see what can happen. What can happen with some consistent approach on serving people, solving problems, sharing good ideas, being the thought leader, being that valuable resource that pours out to others. And as I've quoted a few different times, and still forget the author of the quote, what you make happen for others, God makes happen for you. So we're going after that. Just real quick, give you a chance to take a look at what we're doing. I don't know which view is the best. I'm logged in so you can see my bar there. Sorry about that. But go to intentcompany.com/live. You can get links to all of our social. You can be part of the Feed the Hungry program. I won't go on a large thing, but we're giving away our best workshop for 90% off, and all the proceeds go to Feed the Hungry. So if you want to get a chance to take advantage of that, click there. And then we got some of our other free tools, which we'll talk about more in the future. So intentcompany.com/live. All right, let's talk talents, ambition, and skill. I haven't got a chance to break up my digital whiteboard yet, so one of my favorite tools. So I figured today was a good day to do it. So think about a good old Venn diagram. Oh, look at that, auto-edited. Didn't like my circle. And so if we think of talents, ambition, skills. Okay. I actually believe that one of the goals that we have to do as entrepreneurs, I think one thing I want you to think about is if you're an entrepreneur, like starting a business, or even, it doesn't matter who you are, right? You're an employee, whatever, that there's a sweet spot, right? This center place in the Venn diagram, if you will, this sweet spot that if we can operate most of our time out of that space, that sweet spot, that we will be the most productive, the most internally inspired and internally motivated, and the most fulfilled, is if we can operate out of that sweet spot, that unique space. And we don't take enough time to evaluate what we're doing. Is this coming out of my natural gifting? Am I naturally investing, or am I investing in my natural gifting? And am I enhancing and increasing this sweet spot? Because it can also grow, right? Early on, when you're just new to this, and maybe some of you haven't thought about this stuff in this way, you might be like, oh yeah, like I kind of get it. But the more you intentionally pursue the activities, the thoughts, the learning, the growth, the efforts, the everything in this area, it expands. And the more that you can live in your sweet spot, professionally, I mean, even in ministry and in life and all these areas, the more time you spend in there, the more productive and the more fulfilled, the most joy you're going to have in everything that you do. It's like the sweet spot's like a river. It's like a flowing river. And it's kind of like you get in the canoe, you get in the river, and even without any effort, seemingly, without any kind of really working hard, you just flow in a certain area. You get somewhere almost by accident. And there's things like that. There's certain things that you just flow in, and you see progress and things go forward with almost seemingly no effort. But here's the other side of that. You may actually be quite fruitful on this journey, in this flow, and not even realize it. Because that's one of the downsides to your unique gifting, or this river, the sweet spot, whatever we want to call it. One of the downsides to it is it's so natural to who you are that you almost devalue it yourself. You almost devalue it. You might be, I know for me, like my grandmother, she used to always say, like, oh, Bill, you got the gift of gab. Sometimes actually it was almost shared as like a negative, like, you talk too much, Billy. And I may be accused of that still to this day, once in a while. But it's because it's a natural, to communicate is a natural component of mine. And actually, I'll show you something in a second that will validate that. But it's something that's so natural that I almost undervalued it. And it wasn't until, actually, I'll tell a little story. Story time with Billy. Let me take a sip. So a little bit of my history. My early years were a little checkered, and I found myself getting in quite a bit of trouble doing a bunch of things I shouldn't have done from a pretty early age, so from, 13 to 24, I was doing drugs regularly, I was partying regularly, I was doing lots of things I shouldn't have done, getting myself in a lot of trouble and heading down a very not good path. And it got really bad, like really bad, And at 24 years old, I realized I need to get out of here. I need to get out of my circle. I need to get out of the situation, the people I'm hanging out with. Like I need new, right? And so I packed up and followed a friend to Huntington Beach, California, and just so from Boston to California, just up and left, had to like completely reset. And moving to another state didn't quite fix all the issues, because within a couple weeks I got a DUI, put my car into a light pole, put a light pole on top of a house. That's class act, real class act. And so I had to go to, you get a DUI, you get arrested, you lose your license, you go to AA. And I'll tell you, for the first time in my life, I kind of took it seriously a little bit, because I'm in this meetings, these AA meetings, and you got these people that are, been sober for 25 years, and yet they say, like, if I don't come to these meetings, 3 times a week, like, I'm going to become an alcoholic and ruin my life and all, I'm not necessarily saying that. I believe the blood of Jesus can just completely deliver and free you. So I'm not saying that. But at that time, that really, really freaked me out. 24 years old, seeing my life was going. So I took it a little seriously. And, I went sober for 30 days, because they give you a little keychain. It's like a little test. And if I would probably say at that point in my life, that was probably the first time I was sober for 30 days since I've been 13 years old. So that was a big thing. And it got me thinking differently about life. It's interesting how issues and pressure and things like that will get you to think differently. And so I decided, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be the way I am. So I started looking into stuff and started to I can say this now because the story ends kind of funny, but I actually stole Tony Robbins' Get the Edge off of LimeWire. And I remember I said, this is so good. This content's so good. And one day I'll pay for it. And I did. About 6-7 years later, I remember that I did that. And I bought his full course with Get the Edge included in it. Paid, stole it on LimeWire, paid it later. But it was the first time, at 24 years old, the first time I ever heard that, like, you can make something of yourself. You can learn, you can grow, you can try new things. Like, I just didn't have that thought. I just figured this is the way I am, stuck here. And, just reading and learning these things, all of a sudden it's like, wow, like I can be more, I can try more, I can do more, I can, all this stuff. And one of the things that came up through that at Discovery was a book called Now Discover Your Strengths. Now Discover Your Strengths. And it's actually, I got version 2 of the book, Strengths Finder 2.0, which we'll talk about in just a second. But Now Discover Your Strengths was basically this: you took a survey and it told you about like what your natural giftings are and what you're good at. And when I'm reading through it, it's all these things like, woo and communication and individualization and all these different things that, to be honest, I just thought that I like to talk a lot. But it actually showed me that, no, actually, I have a gift. I was actually made by God, designed by God to have this gift of communicating and connecting with others. And I just never saw that as valuable in my life before. I never thought that it was helpful or beneficial to my life. And all of a sudden, I got this awareness of like, wow, like I'm actually I have a unique gifting and unique ability. How could I improve that? And so then all of a sudden, so going back to this is, I was aware of talent. I became aware of talents. Here's the thing about talents. Talents God put in you. That's the difference between these words. Talent is something that you are made with. You were divinely designed. You are knit together in your mother's womb. You are made for a purpose, and God put things in you, and it's just your natural propensity. It's your natural tendency. You do it whether you think about it or not. It's a natural, right? Skills, however, can be learned. Skills are just things you've learned. Experience. Now, I'll tell you what, obviously, and you're about to see in a second, the sweet spot is where when your skills are on the back, the shoulders, if you will, of your talents. When you're intentionally building skills that expand the natural gifting of your life. So talents, skills. Ambition is your desire, your passion, your your willingness to apply effort, attention, intention, just going after it. So talents God put in you, skills you can learn and develop. Ambition is up to you. You might think, well, no, like I want more, but no, like ambition's a decision. I decide. And when you apply all three of those things, when you look at, okay, this is how I'm naturally gifted, this is how I'm naturally, my natural wiring, where I'm headed towards. These are the skills that I've developed, I've learned, I'm expanding, I'm intentional about, and I wake up every day with an ambition and a fire to expand my skill set, to release the natural giftings and talents that I have. And then I look at these things and I say, how can I align most of what I do in the sweet spot? How can I work out of my sweet spot? How can I parent? How can I, because that's the funny thing. You've got multi-millionaire, super successful people who are like, can barely put a sentence together, but they're highly analytical, technical. You got some that have like no technical skills, but they're good at communicating. You've got success is actually not like, oh, well, if you communicate well and you've got enough of this organization and enough of that, that creates success. No, you see super successful people, again, in business and in family, ministry, life, that are completely different. What made them successful? I believe it's because they figured out who they are, they built skills that support that, and they have a fire and a drive to see that expand, and they applied it. Are you clear about your unique giftings, your talents, the things you just naturally flow at? Do you know the skills or intentionally developing skills that are on, again, the shoulders of your talents? Because that's the thing is, you can learn a skill, but if it's outside of your talent, it's like getting in your boat and going upstream rather than downstream. And then, do you have an ambition? Do you have ambition on a desire to see your talents manifest into positive things in your life? Do you have ambition to develop skills, to learn, to get better, to expand, to apply the uniqueness that you have towards worthy pursuits? So think about this dynamic right here, okay? If you have ambition and you have skill, but you're not operating out of your talent, it's like I just mentioned a second ago. It's like paddling upstream. I'm from southeastern Massachusetts, and there's a thing that happens every year called the herring run. It's kind of like the salmon. And they swim upstream to go and mate. And you talk about fish struggling. I mean, they call them the ladders, so it makes it easier for them to go up, because these fish are just like going as hard as they can. They jump out of the water, they're smashing all over each other, and they get up to the next ladder, the next ladder, the next ladder, and it's like, it is an unbelievable struggle. Let's praise God that your success doesn't have to be going upstream like the herring. You can actually get in the river. You can get in the river of this grace. You can get in the river of actually how you're naturally made, and align certain things so that there is a flow. That's a much better way. That's a much better way to go and tackle things. So let's take the other one. Let's say you've got natural talent and ambition, but you're not developing your skills. You'll have some success. This one, I think this one maybe convicts me the most. I sometimes rely too much on my talents. Like, I want things, and I operate on my talents, but am I taking the time to develop additional skill sets? See, it's funny because our world kind of teaches us, I think, something that's pretty flawed. I think our world teaches us this thing where, like, whatever you're bad at, get better at. Now, there are definitely some basic skills you got to learn. Like, even if it's not your natural propensity. Like, you got to figure out how to be like somewhat organized. You got to figure out how to get on time. You got to figure out, how to have some basic communication skills, even if that's not your strength, right? So there is like this level of stuff that you kind of got to learn to get through life. But I actually don't spend your life, don't go take classes in college and invest all this time and everything to like take this super weakness, like this thing that's not your talent at all, and spend all this time to try to get up there. Again, you're just swimming upstream so hard, you're wasting so much effort, especially as an entrepreneur. What an entrepreneur does really good, and we're going to talk about this in a second, is they're able to understand where their unique superpowers are, what's missing in the organization, and go and get people that have that gifting, that skill, that ambition, and go put those people in place. Because an organization is like it's like a body, right? The Bible says, the hand, I can't say to the foot, I have no need of you, right? Like we're a team. We should form together like Voltron, and the unique giftings, unique skills everybody have come together in this unity, and we go and we run after it. And so what I'm sharing right now, I want you to look at yourself, but I also want you to look at your team. Think about even your family. Think about any kind of organization, ministry team, whatever it may be. How is your team operating? How can you give people a place to shine in their unique gifting, talents, ambitions, and then figure out how to make that just kind of form together? I actually think that's, it's leadership. And it's leadership. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to make a little note here. I'm going to write down leadership so I don't forget. I'm going to put little bullets there as a reminder. Okay. So let's do the last kind of dynamic here. What if you have talents in a certain area, and you maybe even have some skills that you develop, but you kind of lack the ambition to keep growing? That's one of the saddest ones. I think we see this a lot of times, especially in like athletics. Maybe you remember, people in high school, college, whatever, that just were so talented. They just had so many skills, but they just completely lacked ambition. They just weren't willing to put in the work. And the problem with that dynamic, I think I fell into this one a couple times in different ways too. The problem with that dynamic is in certain environments, you can still excel. Based on your peer group, based on the team you're at, based on the thing that you're doing, you're naturally almost so much better than everyone else that it stunts your ambition. And the problem is we're supposed to go from glory to glory. We're supposed to keep growing, keep expanding. And so, yeah, that might have worked in this environment, but what happens when you elevate your environment? What happens when you go from high school sports to college sports, from college sports to pro? All of a sudden, your talents and your skills aren't enough. You need to have the drive, the ambition, the work ethic, the attitude, all of those components mixed in for you to really be the best that you can be. So again, the sweet spot is the combination of these three elements. It's the talents, the skills, the ambition, the fire. We're going to do it. We're going to apply what we have, and we're going to push it towards a certain direction. So all three of these are super important. Let me go back to my little note here on leadership, right? So things like leadership, we could even say sales, all these different dynamics. It's funny because sales and leadership aren't actually talents. And in some ways, they're not even necessarily skills. What I mean is they're almost like buckets of an idea, because you can actually lead people. You can be a great leader with completely different talents. You don't have to be super extroverted to be a great leader. You don't have to be super organized to be a great leader. So leadership isn't even necessarily a talent or a skill. It's how do you apply your particular talent, skills, and ambition to be a great leader, to maybe be great at sales, to be great at these various areas. Because that's the cool thing is you can drive a lot of sales, being good at different things. You can lead people well, having a different tendency. So it's not like saying, well, I'm not really a leader. It's like, okay, hold on, that's maybe like our vision of like the super charismatic, extroverted lead. Okay, that's not your thing, but that doesn't mean you can't move people. Here's leadership is purely defined on how many people are following you. That's it. If no one's following you, you can't actually be a leader. And so what's the thing you're passionate about? What's the thing you're doing? How can you use the unique way that you're made to help lead? So as an entrepreneur, leadership is like one of the major marks of what you must do. You must lead well. And so you have to realize, how are you made to lead? How can you use your talents, your skills, and your ambition to lead? So let me give you a couple of things we could look at. Let's go over here. All right. I have a couple sources I want you to take a look at. One, which the thing's awesome, 16 personalities. I've been using this site for a long time. This is built off of the Myers-Briggs kind of personality assessment, And I'll say these things are interesting and fun. It's a good way to get started. Don't get too, I don't know, I feel like some people get too caught up in like, oh, like this, I'm like that. And it's just good to kind of get a snapshot, a little thing. And actually I've done this a few times ago. I forgot my login for my newest one, but this one was actually one I took like 10 or 12 years ago. I have another one it's very similar, but some of the percentages are off. I'm not quite as extroverted today as I was 12 years ago. But with the 16 personalities, basically works like this. So you've got you answer all these questions, and it gives you kind of this scale, right? Like, are you more extroverted or introverted? And they give you a little diagram over here, like, oh, well, that's, I like how they say it. Are you energized being with groups of people, or are you kind of energized by being by yourself, right? So like you can be an introverted person, which basically means, it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm quiet and shy and all that stuff. That's actually not what it means. Introverted just means that my energy levels can drain when I'm around a lot of people, and I got to go recharge solo, maybe taking a walk in the woods or just spending some time alone, where extroverted people tend to be juiced being around people. So it's not necessarily a thing like you're quiet or you're shy or you're this or that. It's just kind of how your energy levels is. The next thing, intuitive or observant. And this is kind of like your mind, right? How do you kind of see things? Are you seeing it more like, oh yeah, I'm very observant. Like I see that happening. Or is it more intuitive? I kind of feel what's going on. The next one, thinking and feeling. This is kind of like, it says your value, your emotional expression and sensitivity, right? A lot of people are just very thinkers. Some people are feelers. I'm kind of right on the border. I think that the newer one I did, I'm 52%. So I'm like right on the border of those. The next one is called tactics. The names are weird. The judging and prospecting. Judging just means organized. Like I'm really organized, decisive. I look at the data. I show up at the places on time. And then the other one, prospecting, is more like I'm more spontaneous, right? So it's funny how these, I do this with all of my teams. I've done this with my family. And one of the reasons why I think that's so important is it's good for us to take a sober self-assessment to kind of look at like where we are, who we are. But I think it's also really important for you to see how other people are. There's a lot of times where you may have conflict with certain people. Like you may find there's certain areas of people that kind of rub you the wrong way, or they always ask this question, or always do this, and you're kind of like, do they not trust me? Are they this or that? And it's just how they're naturally made. They're just like, this is they need information before they make a decision, right? They need a lot of data, or they need this. And so they're not questioning you. It's just what they need based on how they're made. So doing something like this in teams, doing something like this like with your family, with your spouse, is really cool, because you can just kind of look and be like, oh, that's just kind of the unique way you are. And that's pretty cool. And so anyway, take this test. ENFJ, they have this assertive and turbulent, which just kind of means like how steady are you based on like the pressure of things around you. And it's a free test, 16personalities.com. I got no affiliate link or anything. It's just a really cool site that I've used many times in the past, and I think it's pretty cool info. When you take it, they give you all kinds of different details on like jobs that would be best for you, workplace habits, traits, all kinds. It's really fun, and it's really cool to do as a team. It's really fun to do as a team and to share, and again, get to know more about the people that we're running after things with. And then you'll start to see, like I remember when we did this recently, I realized a lot of my deficiencies in certain things, and so I, felt led to add a couple excellent team members to the team. And actually, they're both in the office with me today, Chelsea and Larissa, and they're fantastic. They're super gifted, they're super skilled, and most importantly, they're super good at things that I'm not. And I love that. And so many things that I, as the leader, had been like holding on to and doing and running after, I now get to pass on, give it to somebody who, in their natural gifting and their skill, how they like to operate. So they're motivated, they're fulfilled, they're getting things done, and I don't have to do it, which is fantastic. And so when we when they both joined, we did this another session together, everybody, and it's so cool to get the chance to see how we naturally operate. So that's a good way to get to know a little bit of our talents. Let me give you another one. Brought that up earlier. StrengthsFinder 2.0 by Tom Rath. So this is a Gallup survey book. So Gallup Press. And so if you don't know Gallup, they do like tons of like surveys and testing across the marketplace, and they got all kinds of cool data, all kinds of cool books that they put out. And this particular one was actually a study, and I forgot the exact numbers. I should get it. It's in the opening of this. But it talked about how satisfied employees were, how long they stayed in their performance level based on their ability to operate out of their core strengths. And it just showed that the more they operate out of their core talents and their core strengths, their satisfaction level, their production level, how long they stay with us, it's like through the roof, exponentially higher when they're operating out of their core strengths. So this one, this is another just fantastic book. And we do these quite a bit. When you buy the book, there's a code in the back. You pull out the code, you take again the survey, and it gives you kind of your top 5 strengths. And then it gives you a description on what they are and how you can apply them to certain things. I think mine are command, which is kind of like decision-making stuff, strategy, coming up with ideas, strategic things. What was it? Command, strategy, communication, individualization, and belief. Those were mine. So, StrengthsFinder 2.0 by Tom Rath. Great book to go through as a team. Also, if you do decide to do that, like as an entrepreneur or a leader of an organization, go through those together, get everybody that. But I also recommend this book. So this is kind of a follow-up book called Strengths-Based Leadership. So this is for the leader to say, okay, now that you did this and now that you know your team's talents, gifting, skills, how can you best lead them based on those abilities? So again, I get just cool stuff that's helped me. I got no affiliate links. I'm not trying to push anybody's product. It's just things we've been using for years, and it's fantastic, good tools. There's other ones. There's DISC, and I forgot the one with the Enneagram or something, the 9 and the 6 and I don't know. There's a lot of them, and check them out. See which one works for you. Those are the 2 that I like the best. And so this is a great way to, again, kind of get an idea. Okay, what are the core talents I have, and who are the core talents of my team? Now, I'd go through that same thing with skills. Now, skills, obviously, it's not so much an assessment, but everyone, write down your skills. Write down, what are the things that you learned? What are the things that you've spent time developing? What did you learn in school? What were you trained on? What kind of jobs have you had where you had like things that you were good at? Look at those skills and then kind of match them up against your talents, and be like, oh wow, actually, yeah, that is a skill. Because again, there's a lot of times where you don't realize the skills that you possess, and you want to make sure that the skills that you have, because I got really skilled with Excel spreadsheets out of necessity in a past role. Like I know all the formulas. I can do macros and concatenation and all the other stuff. I do not like it. It's a skill that I got to get me through a certain time, but if I never have to concatenate another column of data again, I'll be fine. Now, there are times though when I need to do it, and it's kind of cool to be like, be able to figure it out. But it doesn't mean every skill that you've possessed something that you should be operating out of all the time. And then ambition. So again, what are you going after? So the reason I talk a lot about talents mostly, because again, this is the river. Get in the river of your talents. Skills. What skills do you need to expand? Almost like to release your talents. It's like your talents are in you. Like they're there. Whether you use them, whether you respect them, whether you apply them, they're inside of you. And the skills are like a tangible way that they get expressed out of you. They get expressed through your communication, through the presentation, through the empathy, the connection, the organization, the whatever it is. And so learn how to, release the talents that you have through your skills and be intentional. Like I'm asking you, so like have ambition. And that's the thing. I can inspire you. Hopefully, if you're watching this, there's like a little fire that gets flicked, a little fire. But that fire will only turn into a raging blaze on how you tend to that fire. Because that's the thing, you can go to a conference, you can watch a video, you can see a sermon, you can have a moment where you get this like inspiration, but you have to tend your fire. You got to tend it. You've got to be intentional about keeping that lit, adding more fuel to it, adding more to it. Like you've got to fan into flame the gift that was given to you. And so leaders, if you have people on your team that you seem to have to relight them every week or two or every month or two, you got to really reflect on like, is this the right person for us? Because what that's basically showing you is no matter how much talent and skill they have, they're lacking ambition. And so, maybe a good conversation would be to share something like this, share this video, share this, say like you've got amazing talent, you've got the skills, you can do anything you want, but you're lacking the fire. You're lacking the fire, and it's your responsibility to tend the fire. Because if you as a leader always have to keep everyone's fire lit, you're going to burn out. And it's just the wrong person in the wrong role. They call it, what book was I reading recently? Is that Good to Great? I think Jim Collins, Good to Great, talks about what's most important is not where you're going, but who's on the bus. And I believe they talk about people being in the right seat. I might be mixing two books up together. But you want to get Traction, Gino Wickman. Amazing book. We'll talk about that book. That is fantastic. Traction by Gino Wickman. You watch these videos, you're going to have a big library. That was the thing. That was the main thing that hit me back in 2004 when I read that first book on Now Discover Your Strengths and started watching those videos at 24 years old. JC dropout, no ambition, skating through life. When it hit me, I can have a better life. It was like a revelation. It was like I was blind to a certain truth that if I could be more, I could have more, I could create and expand my life and my purpose and my impact. When I caught that and that veil was removed and I could see, I had revelation, man, I'll tell you what, JC dropout, did terrible in high school, barely skated through. I was high and most of the time when I was in school, 24 years old, when I got that, I'm telling you what, I read more books. I've invested more in my education probably than anybody I went to school with from that. I don't care how much your college education was, the amount of conferences I've gone to, the amount of courses I've bought, the amount of hours I've invested. Once I realized that I can expand my skill set, I can dictate my future. And, I would recommend part of your ambition is to be an eternal learner. Don't ever get too good at something or have too much experience or be too old to just continue to learn and to grow and gain ideas and read books and listen to people. And, there's a difference between adopting everyone's thought, right? There's that just shows that you're kind of weak in your beliefs. If you can flip-flop between completely contrasting views all the time because based on whatever the last article you read or last YouTube video you watched, you need to get grounded and figure out, like, who are you? What do you actually believe? But at the same time, don't be so, this is what I believe, that I'm afraid of listening to someone else's opinion. You should stand on your values of who you are as a person, and you should allow these outside sources and grab them and be like, what's true about this? What do I reject about this? What do I want to take for my own? A little pastor of mine used to say, you got to eat the watermelon and spit out the seeds. And so there's just some stuff that isn't to digest. Spit that out. I do not agree with that. But there's also some good fruit in there too. So learn, grow, expand. That's the ambition side. And so definitely recommend you do this with yourself, do it with your spouse, do it with your team, do it with your organization, whoever you've got a chance, and go through this. Talents, skills, ambition, and be intentional about operating out of your unique gifting. Be intentional about expanding and learning skills that release the talents, release the things that God put inside of you. Have a fire to grow and develop and have more. And so, maybe I'll put links to some of this stuff on our IC Live because this is really good stuff to go through. So, yeah, there it is. Talent, skills, and ambitions. Operate out of your sweet spot. Get in your river. Get in the canoe. That's the other cool part about the canoe analogy. If you think about it, like if it's like the river is like your talent. The skill is like your canoe. You get in, it's got skills because you can make it better. You can get better oars. You can get a better sail. It's expanding. It's releasing the speed of it. And your ambition is like how hard you paddle, how hard you put into it. And you can either just coast through life based on your natural talents. You can just always try to upgrade your skills, try to get a new doohickey, a new way to learn and expand. And you can put in effort. But if you do all three of those together, if you flow downstream with the wind filling your sails and putting in the effort, it's amazing how far and fast you can go towards things. So, all right. That's all I got for today. Again, go over to intentcompany.com/live. Check out our Feed the Hungry program. Check out our free tools. Even if you're watching this on the replay, drop some comments in there. Thank you for everybody for all the chats. I'm sorry, it's bad for me to look at things. RJ, Rick Beckers, Matt Oaks, all you guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But if you can, do the stuff. Braden, let them know.
Hey guys, welcome back, and make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell for notifications.
Man, he's not just super adorable. He's very wise. Very wise. Wise young man. He's got another video. Actually, I'll share it later. I think one of his videos. So he's making videos for me to help get appointments set, because people set up appointments and they flake. And so he's got this, he's got these cool videos where he's like, hey, you got to call my dad tomorrow. Make sure you show up, and it's super cute. And we're going to implement those, make those part of our appointment generation or our appointment confirmation sequences. But he's got another one where he's sitting back on the desk. He's got his feet up on the table, and he says something like, hey, it's going to be my business someday, so make sure you buy something for my dad. Oh, Bubba. What a kid. What a kid. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We will be back tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow, Friday, I feel like the Lord put a word on my heart, so tomorrow's going to be a little different. I'm just going to kind of preach a little bit and share what I think God wants to share in regards to seeing a very fruitful life. And so I'm excited to share that tomorrow at 12 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So again, thanks for everybody who has been watching and sharing and doing all this stuff. Look forward to keep doing this with you guys. Also, make sure you leave some comments if there's any particular content or things you'd like us to go over and talk about. So anyway, bless you guys. Love you. Appreciate your attention, time, everything you put into this. So you guys have